There's an invisible framework running your life, not something you chose, not something you consciously believe, an invisible framework made up of rules, assumptions, and quiet conclusions that's been directing your decisions without your consent. And until you can see it, life will feel heavier than it should. Effort feels harder than it should. Progress can feel temporary. Now, let me slow this down, okay? Everyone lives inside this invisible framework. It's your subconscious mind. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it doesn't announce itself. It just feels like the reality of what's true for you. Like, this is how things are. This is how I am. This is how life works. Inside that framework are rules that you don't question, not rules you think about, rules you unconsciously live by. And they don't show up as thoughts, they show up as limits. They show up as this feeling that shape they shape how much space you take up, what you ask for, what you tolerate, what you don't even consider possible. And most people never see them. They mistake the framework for truth. And here's what that can sound like inside, right? It can be like, I'm too much. I have to make myself smaller to be happy. My needs don't matter. I must be the problem. And notice what just happened in your body as you heard those. Most people don't argue with sentences like that because their internal voice seems like truth to them, but it's really a framework, it's a structure, and they organize your life around them. You literally figure out how to be successful within that framework. Maybe you should change it because those relationships you have actually confirm those frameworks, and they choose and you'll end up choosing work that reinforces them, and you'll stay quiet where they should speak. And they will settle where they should expand, not because they're weak, but because the framework is quietly running in the background. And because you don't see it, you assume the problem is you. You think you need more confidence or more discipline or maybe courage, or maybe it's motivation you need. But here's the important part. That invisible framework didn't come from nowhere. It was built, usually early, usually unconsciously, and usually for a good reason. It was created to survive, to belong, to stay safe, to avoid rejection, conflict, disappointment, to keep you safe. And at one point it worked. It helped you fit in and it protected you from something. But now it's running your life. Now it's running the life it was never designed to run because you're outgrowing it. And if you keep living from that old internal framework, you'll quietly cap your entire future. That's where the friction starts. You can feel this before you understand it. A tight chest, that feeling, a constant hum of pressure, overthinking simple decisions, second guessing yourself after you've already made a decision. That feeling of holding back even when no one is telling you to. And that's what most people do. Most people respond to that friction, that resistance, that internal resistance by pushing harder. They try to override it. More discipline, more pressure, more force. But force doesn't change an invisible framework. It just exhausts you inside of it. That's why progress can often feel temporary. You push, you get some movement, you feel hopeful, and then you slide back, not because you failed, not because you lack willpower, but because the framework you're operating by subconsciously never changed. And here's the shift that most people never make. The invisible framework isn't truth. It's simply your past experience. It's your conditioning. And most self-improvement systems try to overpower conditioning with effort. They rarely help you see the framework that's blocking you. Because once you see it, you don't need to fight it. You don't need to destroy it. You don't even need to heal it. You just stop mistaking it for reality, and that alone begins to change things. When that framework loosens, decisions get clearer. You stop negotiating with yourself all day. You stop explaining yourself internally. You stop shrinking. Your actions will be cleaner. Not because life gets easier, but because you're no longer obeying something unconsciously that's taking your power away. This is why awareness matters more than effort. Effort inside the wrong framework just keeps you tired. Awareness starts by reorganizing the system. So here's what I invite you to do. I invite you to notice the sentence you feel obligated to live by. That one you never questioned. The one that feels obvious. That one that quietly governs your choices. Like, what is that story running? You don't need to analyze it. You don't need to fix it. You just need to identify it and replace it. Just notice it. Like, how long has it been there? Notice how familiar it feels. Notice how much of your life has been built around it. That noticing is already a shift. That's where change starts. You'll be surprised how much change comes from simple awareness. In the next video, we're going to talk about why trying to solve the problem yourself. We're going to talk about why trying to solve the problem itself keeps you stuck. Why money, relationships, confidence, business aren't actually the issue. And what changes when you stop treating the subject like the real problem. That's when real change occurs.